Coming up on today's show, we're diving back into familiar territory. Last year, we did a video discussing how the Dallas Cowboys found some impressive value in the offseason, making smart, low-cost moves that yielded real upside. Well, it's time for a sequel. Once again, I think the Cowboys front office, particularly Will McClay, deserves a serious shout-out. And yes, I'll give credit where it's due. Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones also deserve props for a couple of defensive additions that are already making waves in training camp and early preseason action. Today, we're breaking down two players in particular, two guys who, if things continue trending the way they have, could end up being sneaky good pickups that we'll be praising long after this season ends. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, if you're hyped about the return of Cowboys football and holding out hope that maybe, just maybe, this year will be different, show your support by liking today's video. It's a small click, but it goes a long way. Now, let's talk about the off-season moves that caught my eye. There were two additions that, frankly, I think we'll look back on either by the end of this season or a year or two from now and say, man, that was a steal. These aren't headline-grabbing signings or splashy trades, but they are the type of under-the-radar pickups that end up being difference-makers. The first one? Kaiir Elam. The Cowboys practically gave up nothing to bring him in from the Buffalo Bills. And already, he looks like one of the big winners of this offseason, especially in camp. If you were with us during our draft coverage, you might remember how excited I was when the Cowboys picked Donovan Ezeraku. Honestly, that was probably the most pumped I've been about a pick since CeeDee Lamb. I thought Ezeraku was a massive value at the time, and everything we've seen since has only made me more confident. These two guys, Elam and Ezeraku, could end up playing significant roles for Dallas this year. And the best part? They cost next to nothing compared to their potential upside. Let's start with Kaiir Elam, since he was acquired first. A former first-round pick out of Florida, Elam had all the tools coming into the NFL, but things didn't work out in Buffalo. He struggled to find his footing there and never became the kind of player many, including myself, believed he could be. Whether it was scheme fit, confidence issues, or just the wrong environment, he didn't develop as expected. But now, with the Cowboys, we might be seeing the classic case of a player needing a change of scenery to finally unlock his potential. In camp, Elam has looked consistently sharp. He's flying around, making plays, and clearly playing with a renewed sense of confidence. That's something you have to have at cornerback confidence. It's non-negotiable. You can have all the tools in the world, but if you're not mentally locked in, the position will chew you up. Corners need an almost irrational level of self-belief. You're going to get beat. That's just the nature of the job. The elite ones bounce back immediately and keep that swagger, and Elam seems to be finding that confidence again in Dallas. Now, let's be clear. I don't expect Elam to turn into a superstar overnight. He doesn't need to be a Pro Bowl-level corner to be a success story. What the Cowboys need is a competent outside starter, someone who can hold his own, make a few key plays, and not be a liability. And based on what we've seen so far, I think that's a realistic goal. Considering the Cowboys only gave up a day, 3-pick and a swap with the Bills, even an average-level starter would be a massive win. For reference, they used a similar draft asset to select Eric Scott, and he's already out of the league. So, the bar for success is not incredibly high here. Right now, with Trayvon Diggs still working his way back, Darren Bland locked in on one side, and questions about health and depth elsewhere, the Cowboys need Elam to contribute. He doesn't have to be the next Deion Sanders, but if he's better than Kelvin Joseph, aka Bossman Fat, that's already a step in the right direction. So here's the question for you. What's your confidence level in Kyer Elam becoming a reliable starting corner? On a scale from 1 to 10, drop your number in the comments. Switching gears now to Donovan Ezeraku, the other standout off-season addition. Drafted in the second round out of Boston College, Ezeraku is a player I was consistently mocking in the first round throughout the pre-draft process. He's a high-upside edge rusher with proven production and a relentless motor. And what he's shown so far in Cowboys camp backs that up. Ezeraku racked up 16.5 sacks and 60 pressures in his final season at Boston College. He was disruptive, explosive, and capable of winning in multiple ways. Against the Rams in preseason action, he only played 17 snaps. But even in that limited action, he showed flashes, especially against the run. I re-watched the All-22 and came away impressed with how he held his ground. He also had a nice pressure that stood out in an otherwise quiet performance by the rest of the unit. He's not just a pass rush only guy. He's showing early signs of being a well-rounded defender. The Cowboys were clearly high on Ezeraku during the draft process. In fact, according to Stephen Jones, defensive line coach Aaron Whitecotton was pounding the table for him as early as pick 12. Now, I'm always a little skeptical when the Cowboys front office talks up how high they were on a guy. It's easy to say that after you get him later, but even if the specifics are exaggerated, the message is clear. They really liked this kid. For what it's worth, I had Ezeraku as the 6th best edge rusher in the class and 28th overall on my board. The Cowboys landed him at pick 44, making that one of the better value picks of the entire second round in my eyes. It reminded me of the CeeDee Lamb Trayvon Diggs draft, where Dallas just let the board fall to them and scooped up value when it dropped. When they follow the board like that, it tends to work out. So how many sacks will Ezeraku have this year? That's the next big question. Let me know your prediction in the comments. It depends on how many quality reps he gets behind Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Dante Fowler, and others. But I think he could sneak into the rotation and make an impact in year one. He reminds me a lot of Harold Landry, coming out a guy who wasn't a top 10 pick, but had double-digit sack potential within a few years. If Ezeraku develops along those lines, the Cowboys may have landed another long-term difference maker. To wrap things up, these two additions, Kyer Elam and Donovan Ezeraku, might not have made national headlines, but they could quietly become two of the most important moves of the Cowboys' 2025 offseason. Whether it's a former first-rounder getting a second chance or a draft steal ready to break out, both players bring serious upside at minimal cost. That's how you build depth. That's how you stay competitive over the long haul. So, who are you more excited about? Type K in the comments for Kyer Elam or D for Donovan Ezeraku. And if you're all in on this season and want more Cowboys content every single day, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free, it's easy, and it helps us bring you more of the coverage you want. Thanks for watching. Let's hope this year, these under-the-radar moves end up being the difference.